What's going on, everybody? Samuel Akem here, and I am back with another one. I appreciate you guys for tapping in to yet another video. FCS football season has concluded. The FBS season is still going strong, as well as the NFL football season, and NBA basketball is, off and running. Shifting into the offseason, a lot is going on in NCAA sports, particularly football. Eligibility needs to be talked about. Schools moving conferences is another thing that's going on. Schools, there's a whole lot going on in college football, and I want to give my thoughts about it all. So we're going to be covering it in this week's video. So make sure you guys hit the like, make sure you guys hit the subscribe button, make sure you guys comment down below, and we will get straight into it. Okay, at the top of the list, something that is very interesting when it comes to where college sports are right now, where college football particularly is right now. The NCAA is considering allowing 5 years of eligibility for players in all sports moving forward. This topic will be discussed further in early 2025. That is something that, made me raise my eyebrows because, I feel like we're already in the era right now of where, due to COVID, so many kids have gotten 5 years, sometimes 6 years, 7 years. These kids are getting an unlimited amount of eligibility because of the COVID year. But I feel like those COVID years are kind of getting weeded out now. And I feel like we're on the back end of kids playing through their COVID years and that extra season they were given. And I feel like now we're in the time where, it's just the 4 years on the field. If you get a redshirt year, that's 5 years. If you get a medical, you can be pushed to 6. But I think the most we should be seeing kids be in school is 6 years. But with this, if the NCAA is going to consider allowing 5, that completely changes everything. And, my question is what has sparked? Is it something that they saw or noticed during this COVID year period? Is there something that they noticed? Is there something that they picked up on to where, it may be beneficial for the kids? Because, from my standpoint and for my understanding, I feel like the NCAA is always trying to operate in the best interest of the student athletes and, their respective institutions. So I feel like if they're giving them 5 years, it has to do something with academics. Maybe it goes in line with what they're looking at in terms of revenue share. Maybe the timeline lines up. I'm not sure. There's a lot to be hashed out when it comes to that stuff, but there's a lot going on in college football. The NCAA, not even college football. I don't want to just say college football because men's and women's college basketball is another big sport in the NCAA and, big revenue generator when it comes to March Madness. The women's tournament has got some new life and some new legs with, some of the women that have recently come through and some of the ones that are still there, particularly Juju Watkins, Paige Beckers, a few that come to mind. But, I guess I want to wait to see when they come out with some more legislation or some more information about this 5 years and, what the thinking is is it a blanket rule? I don't know, but it makes me interested to know more. I want to know more, and I want to see what the ramifications are going to be of it. But you guys can let me know what you guys think about that. Do you guys think this would be something that is beneficial for college athletics? Do you think it'll add, I don't know, 5 years for what? I feel like 4 is such a nice round number, I don't know. But without knowing more, I really can't give more thoughts. But you guys can let me know in the comments what you guys think about that, and I will move on. Okay, it looks like this is, not super new, but Northern Illinois seems to be joining the Mountain West. This is what the report said. Northern Illinois board on Tuesday expected to accept offer to join Mountain West as football-only member in 2026. Industry sources said the addition of MAC's most successful program gives Mountain West 9 football schools stretching 4 time zones. NIU expected to receive substantially more revenue in Mountain West than in MAC. NIU considering several options where its non-football sports will play. Sources said adding NIU in football plus Grand Canyon and UC Davis as non-football members are final pieces of Mountain West expansion. Source said. Well, this is very interesting because I know a lot of people were looking at North Dakota State, South Dakota State. Was there potentially going to be Montana State? What was going to be had with those FCS schools? Were they going to be added to the Mountain West? It seems like NIU is the choice. They're keeping it at that for now. But there also was some recent revelations being made about, the UC Davis deal to join the Mountain West outside of football, for every sport outside of football. From what I understand is, and from what I've read is, if the Mountain West decides to add another football member, UC Davis gets first rights. That's what it says in their contract. UC Davis gets first rights. Now, there's a whole lot that can go along with that because, what does that mean? They get first rights to, I believe, a bid. So they get to make a bid on joining the Mountain West. Now, does that mean the Mountain West has to accept that bid? No, but it does mean that they have to honor their contract and honor that they get the right to make the first bid. So I think it means if they're making it a negotiation, if they're allowing multiple schools to make bids to join the conference, they're going to allow UC Davis to make the first bid and then look at, what their other options are when it comes to bringing another school in. But, how long will it be until they look to bring another school into the conference? Who knows? I guess there's a whole lot that goes into that. But Northern Illinois will be joining 4 time zones. So I guess we're looking at the Pacific time zone, Mountain time zone, Mountain Standard time zone. You're looking at Central and Eastern time zone. So, or no, actually it's not even Eastern. There's no Eastern time zone. I don't even know what time zone Hawaii is on. But Hawaii is in the Mountain West, so whatever time zone they're on, that's gonna be, that's gonna be that. But also, now that I'm thinking about this, I'm just now thinking about the new Pac-12 and the new members in the Pac-12 and the members leaving the Mountain West to go to the Pac-12. So I don't know. The conference is going to look completely different now going forward. And, I can't even remember exactly what teams were leaving and what teams were joining the conference. But talking about that UC Davis deal to join the Mountain West, I have the article by Chris Murray pulled up. He was talking about some of the details in the contract, and I'm not going to show the whole entire article, but I want to show one part of the article that he was talking about. And part of the reason for me talking about this topic in the midst of NIU joining the conference is because it was very interesting to me. So you see it right here. Let me maximize this screen. I don't know why it's so small. So you see it right here. UC Davis has first right of consideration application if the Mountain West elevates a football program from the FCS level. That could complicate the Mountain West attempting to add a different FCS school like North Dakota State, South Dakota State, Montana State, or Sacramento State. Although the Mountain West is under no obligation to select UC Davis for elevation for full member status, including football. So basically saying exactly what I was iterating in terms of, yes, they get first bid. They get the right to make the first bid or make the first application, to submit the first application to join if they're looking to add another football member. But that doesn't mean that the Mountain West is obligated to accept that first application. They are, well within their rights to go through their process of bringing new organizations in, bringing new schools in, bringing new football members in. And, just because UC Davis gets first right doesn't mean they get, the right I think you guys are picking up what I'm putting down, but that's very interesting. And it just makes me think, there were some comments made recently by the Sac State president, which since I'm talking about it, I'm going to add this on into here. I'm doing another video about this topic in general, but I'm going to play this video and I'm going to give my thoughts about this. And then I'm going to give my thoughts about the whole entire situation that's going on and what I think about it. So here's the statement from Sac State's president, Dr. Luke Wood, and I'll get my thoughts after this. So here you go.
That's going to be updating what we have in place, and then you're going to start to see the actual build out of the new stadium beginning the following year. So we're talking about fast timeline. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, is this happening in like 2030, 2029? Like, what is it? No, this is happening now. Like, we're doing it. And we got a good plan of action in terms of getting there.
Just the moving from FBS to FBS, is there any update with that? Is it strictly Pac-12 and Mountain West, or are we looking at it all in other conferences?
Oh, we got some exciting stuff coming, but I can't announce it yet.
Okay.
But within the next several weeks, you're going to hear some stuff that we got cooking. I will just say this. The community wants us to be FBS. We will be FBS, and we will be FBS very soon.
So basically, when I see that, when I hear that, I think, one, you start to read some of the language out of this UC Davis contract, and it makes you think that, UC Davis may not be in the Big Sky Conference for long. I think you look 5 to 10 years down the road, UC Davis may not be in the Big Sky Conference anymore. You look at Sac State, I think even sooner than 5 years. I think even sooner than 2 years. I think even sooner than a year. Sac State may not be in the Big Sky Conference anymore. I mean, their president seems to be sending a very bold and very ambiguous message out to everybody that, the community wants to be FBS. We are looking to become FBS. So, I think this entire discussion about NIU joining the Mountain West is encompassing of a whole lot of changes that are going on in college football, along with the revenue sharing, along with, the teams joining different schools and, all that good stuff. I think it's very interesting. I think it's very exciting, in terms of somebody who played in the Big Sky and a Big Sky that had Sac State and UC Davis, there's memories there, but I think when you just see the changes that Sac State's trying to put on, they're trying to be an attractive spot for not only maybe potentially media, definitely recruits, definitely coaches. They want to be somebody in a destination spot that players want to play at. So, all wells to them. NIU joining the Mountain West. Obviously, it's a new look. It's going to be a new looking Mountain West. So I'll be interested to see what that looks like. Obviously, the Pac-12 is going to be a new looking Pac-12 as well. There's so much conference changes going. There's so many conference changes going on. It's sometimes hard to keep up, but I think it's an exciting time. And so you guys let me know what you guys think about Northern Illinois joining the Mountain West, but also what do you guys think about some of the things that I talked about along the lines of UC Davis and Sac State and their potential transitions out of the Big Sky Conference? How do you guys think this whole conversation of conference realignment is going, and where are you guys sitting on all of it? Let me know in the comments down below, and I will move on. Okay, this is a very exciting topic for if you're somebody who's looking to play college basketball, college athletics in general. As everybody knows, the revenue share model in college football, I keep saying college football, excuse me please. The revenue share model in college athletics is on the way. It's not an if, it's a when, and it's just how long is it going to take for it to completely change college athletics. It's on the way. It's going to be happening. I think it's being voted on sometime later on this year. I think closer to the summertime that may be voted on. I may be wrong, but I know that's definitely coming, and I know a lot of schools are preparing for it. And Virginia's Commonwealth University, VCU, I guess the U is the university, will pay athletes as colleges embark on new era. So I got some language that I want to read off here in an article that I was reading revolving this topic. Virginia Commonwealth University intends to pay its athletes beginning next school year a monumental change to its financial model. VCU intends to opt in to a lawsuit settlement, joining potentially hundreds of other colleges that will compensate players for their abilities beyond a scholarship, said Ed McLaughlin, the school's athletics director, in a recent interview. The new expense will cost VCU between $4 million and $5 million per year and require the athletic department to find new streams of revenue. It will cost VCU between... Amateurism, as we know it, is dead, McLaughlin told the school's board of visitors. There is a new collegiate model. And, if you talk to any college coaches, you talk to anybody who's, at least at the FCS level, from my understanding, you talk to a lot of the coaches, the money and the transfer portal and the NIL has kind of changed the way things have been done for a long, long time. And it's kind of shocking the system in terms of these coaches, especially at the FCS level. You have good players that have good seasons that rightfully so should ball out and want to be celebrated for that. But in this era today, what that becomes is he becomes a free agent. He becomes somebody who's, right for the picking for the highest bidder. And it's been kind of a vicious system that the FCS coaches are living in. But if you're an FBS coach, you're chasing a national championship. You want to be the top. You want to be the best. You want to win. And in order to do so, you got to bring in good players. And if you see somebody who's balling at the FCS level and, they're not getting what you think you can provide for them at the FBS level, that's what it is right now. So it's really, a money business currently in the college system that we're in. And, a lot of administrators, a lot of coaches, a lot of people who've been around the college athletics are speaking to that. some colleges have discussed allotting 75% to football players, 15% to men's basketball players, and 10% to athletes of other sports. McLaughlin said. That means a college spending the maximum could budget $3.2 million for a men's basketball team, or an average of about $250,000 per player. Could you guys imagine that for a basketball team? You are, a freshman. You're a redshirt freshman, but you came onto this basketball team and you're getting $250,000 just to suit up, just to get a scholarship, just to go to classes. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. And, it's something that's, definitely a hot topic in college athletics, but I think, it's hard to shy away from the money being around the athletics. I think it's just, what a lot of people struggle with when you talk about this topic is you have a lot of players, it's called, the original premise is name, image, and likeness. So somebody has a name, somebody has an image, their likeness, somebody wants to use their likeness. If you've done enough at the college level to garner some attention, you rightfully so should be able to profit from that. But I think where it gets muddy and where people get disconnected from it is you have some players who are just going to walk through the front door because they were so Joe Schmo in high school, and you're going to hand them $250,000. I mean, it's kind of crazy, and I don't know. I don't know if anybody intended it for it to be this way when it was first, became a thing, but I think it's quickly become that way because of, I think some of the lack of guidance early on from the NCAA. I don't think they really knew how to handle it, but I think, the government kind of stepped in and put legislation on the table that kind of forced the NCAA's hand, where it became a situation where it's like, either you're going to handle this or we're going to do it through laws of our own. So state by state laws started to get passed. And I think the NCAA at that point was just like, okay, we need to make a blanket rule that this needs to be legal. And, it forced us into this position where we are now, to where, we're talking about revenue share, and we're talking about players making $250,000 minimum. And that's just, what they're making from the school. That doesn't even include the collectives. That doesn't even include businesses working with third parties to go get NIL deals of your own. I mean, the money is crazy. How much a player makes will be driven by the market at VCU, men's basketball players bring more revenue than other sports and are expected to receive the largest payments. VCU intends to spend on men's basketball as much as other top teams in its conference, the Atlantic 10, and rank in the top 35 nationally. So that was from an article I was reading on a paid service. I won't show you the article. I'll show you the title. Virginia Commonwealth University will pay athletes as colleges embark on new era. Written by Eric Kolinich. And, I was just taking some excerpts out of there, but if you guys want to go read the full article, you guys can pay for it and get behind the paywall. But, just some really interesting information in there. One thing I don't think I read is universities must disclose to the NCAA payments greater than $600. So basically, if you're paying a player, $250,000 a year, each, you're definitely going to be disclosing that. But I just think this is crazy that, for a basketball player, I mean, I don't know. I guess it's hard to wrap my mind around. And I guess it's also a part of me is on the standpoint of what I said earlier, I don't think NIL was invented for anybody to benefit from it. I think it was thought of as you watched Zion Williamson, Johnny Manziel, you watched Jameis Winston, you watch Marcus Mariota, you watch all the great college football players that went ahead of us. And I'm just talking about football. I mean, I mentioned Zion, but there's a whole host of basketball players, men and women, that probably could have made a boatload of money. And that is the thought, and that is the sentiment when it comes to NIL. But now that I think it's been handled, I think it's been a little bit mishandled, with how it was rolled out, with how the legislation was put out there, with how the rules were put out there. I think now you have a situation where there's so much money being thrown around that nobody knows what to do. And so at this point, it becomes a situation where, okay, forget about it. Everybody's going to benefit from the money. It's just, some players can make more, but we are going to pay. I don't know. It's a crazy system that we live in. And obviously not all schools and conferences have to opt into that. you can choose whether you want to opt into that model or not. But I think, most of the power conferences, the understanding is, it's at least for a football and, basketball standpoint, I think the understanding is that most power conferences are going to opt into that. And, I'm just excited to see what it looks like. I mean, I think, with some of the, like with this article by Eric Kolinich, I think this is the first kind of peek behind the curtain into what will that model look like. We're truly not going to know what it looks like until we're in it, which I think we should be getting some more light on that this year. And with that ruling coming down and with some schools hopefully switching over to that model, I'm excited to see what it looks like. I'm excited to see, how it works. I'm excited to see. I'm just excited. I mean, I don't know. There is a lot of crazy changes going on in college football, and at times it can be, a little uncomfortable if you're somebody who's very old school. I appreciate the game for what it is and what it's given to a lot of players. So, I'm just excited to see what this new iteration of college football is going to look like. Hopefully it doesn't diminish the brand on the field, because that's ultimately what all of this is about. That's why the fans are there. That's why the coaches are there. That's why the players are there. That's why the stadiums exist. That's why the tradition exists. That's why the pageantry exists. That's why all the great memories have been made, and all the rivalry games and all the regular season games, is because the product on the field was the main thing. And, I think in a time like this when, there's a lot of money involved and there's a lot of materialistic things involved, these players may get jaded with, what really matters. And I just hope that they still keep the main thing, which is the football and the game of football. So I'm excited, let's go. Let's see what this thing looks like. And, I think it's going to be very exciting. You guys let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. Do you guys think it's a no? You guys think it's going to ruin college football, or are you guys like, bring it on? Let's get some structure out here. Let's get everything tightened up, and let's get off and running. You guys let me know in the comments, and I will move on. Okay, the Big Sky and ESPN have signed a 5-year extension to their current media rights agreement going through 2029-2030. Beginning next season for football, a minimum of 4 regular season games will be televised on national TV on a Friday or Saturday, and a minimum of 2 of those games will air on ESPN or ESPN2. If you don't know about the previous ESPN deal that the Big Sky Conference was on, that deal gave them at least 1 game on, or I mean 2, at least 2. This past year, it was Idaho and Montana State, and it was Montana and UC Davis. UC Davis was in Montana. Idaho, Montana State was also in Montana, in Bozeman. So 2 national televised games on ESPN2 in Montana this year. Now if you see, beginning next season for football, a minimum of 4 regular season games will be televised on national TV. So I think that means at least 4 games. A minimum of 2 of those games will air on ESPN or ESPN2. So I guess the other 2 are probably like ESPNU or, some of their other affiliate channels, that get a lot of placement across the country. I don't know how it all works. ESPN's got a ton of channels, but I think that's a step in the right direction for the Big Sky Conference. Getting more national exposure. I think a lot of people understand Big Sky After Dark, and at least in the Twitter Spaces, X, if you call it X, the Big Sky has a reputation, but obviously trying to grow that, obviously trying to grow the brand, obviously trying to grow the name. I think in the midst of all that's going on with the Big Sky Conference, teams looking to leave the Big Sky Conference, murmurs of, is this team going to get a bid here? Is this team going to get a bid there? What does all that look like? The Big Sky Conference is still trying to take care of, their main thing, which is their bottom line, and, trying to put a good product on the field and trying to make sure that they have the most competitive TV deal that possible, so that, now, and also, I don't know what TV deals at the FCS level are paying back to each institution. I don't know how all of that works. I don't even know if that's a component at the FCS level. I know certainly at the SEC, Big 12, Big 10, when that TV deal is negotiated, there's a certain allotment of cash that is going to go back to each school, and that is a big deal at the FBS level. I don't know at the FCS level what that situation is like, but the Big Sky Conference still has to take care of business. They're still trying to be competitive. They're still trying to put a good product on the field, and despite whatever's going on across the country with A school or B school, they still got to grow and elevate. So congrats to the Big Sky Conference. That's exciting news. Another 5-year deal with ESPN. More nationally televised games. That's exciting. So that gives more people something to look forward to. Obviously, they're moving up. I don't really know I mean, for me, the question that comes to my mind is there other people in competition for this media rights deal with the Big Sky? Is there a Fox coming to the table trying to get their rights? Is there anybody at the table who's trying to compete with ESPN? I will say this. Even though I think some people don't love it, I do appreciate the fact that all the Big Sky games, no matter what, are on ESPN Plus. And it's twofold. One, I like it because I can watch any Big Sky game no matter what. I know it's going to be on ESPN Plus. I appreciate that, being able to watch every Big Sky game because I care about the Big Sky. But also, to add to that, another reason why I appreciate it being on ESPN, because with ESPN Plus, you also have replay. So if there's a game that you didn't catch, you can go back online, or if you have an iPad, if you have a phone, I don't know if you do it on the phone, but definitely computer and iPad, you can go back and watch the replays of those games. And it's just very simple. It's very simple. So from that standpoint, I appreciate it. I think a lot of people, when you see when you see something that's behind a paywall, I think you can get a lot of upset people. You're going to get a lot of upset fans. But I think in today's landscape of the media landscape, where we are today, and the money's got to be made somewhere. You're paying for it somewhere. If you're not going to the stadium to watch the game and paying ticket prices and paying for whatever parking, whatever that becomes, you got to pay the $5.99 a month for ESPN Plus, or maybe it's $9.99 a month. I can't remember exactly what it is, but you got to pay somehow, at least at the lower levels, especially since these teams aren't playing on national television. I know it sucks, and, it can feel unfair at times. But I appreciate it because I like a lot of other stuff that's on ESPN Plus as well. Like, I'm a big 30 for 30 guy, so it works for me. Might not work for everybody, but congratulations to the Big Sky. New contract with ESPN. Exciting. More national television games. It's going to be exciting. You guys let me know what you guys think about that, and I will move on. Okay. This was announced, I think he posted about it a day or two ago, but Mark Gronowski has announced his transfer. He is transferring to Iowa to be their quarterback for his final year of college football. He is a two-time national champion. His stats thus far in his career are 10,000 passing yards, 1,700 rushing yards, and 130 touchdowns in his career. They didn't have his interceptions on there, but I'm sure it's probably around 15 or 20 if I had to guess. He's had a phenomenal career. I feel like he fits in Iowa. He can throw the ball well. I think he probably throws the ball better than some of the quarterbacks they've had at Iowa in recent memory, in my personal opinion. But also he's got that success. He knows how to win. He's won before, so I'm very excited for him from that standpoint. Very exciting for him. I don't know him at all. I've never met him, but I think, he can make some waves at Iowa. Obviously, if he's making a move like this, I think his draft stock at this point in his career is sky high. He's done everything. Two-time national champion, Walter Payton Award winner. He's won a ton. He's won big games. He's done it against big competition. He's won against FBS competition. Say what you want about the team that he's beat, but he's done it at the highest level. I think now going to the Big Ten to play against Big Ten competition, making some big time throws, maybe potentially getting to a Big Ten championship, in the era that we live in now, maybe him squeezing into a college football championship or college football playoff with the 12-team bracket that we have now. There's a lot of ways where he can get seen. Obviously, I think he was playing at the highest level, at the FCS level, playing in the Missouri Valley, playing for national championships every year, or at least to the semis every year, playing big time competitive, deep football in the playoffs. Now, you go to the Big Ten, there's an opportunity for you to get seen. There's an opportunity for scouts to see you. Who knows? There's so many things that can happen, but it's exciting for Mark Gronowski. Now, if you want to talk about the South Dakota State standpoint of things, I've been seeing a lot of stuff online. The sky is falling for some people in South Dakota State. Seems like their coach left. He tried to bring any player he could with him to Washington State, and now, their new coach and their staff and, some of the veterans that decided to stay are left to pick up the pieces. And, it is what it is. That's the way college football is these days. When you have a system where kids can transfer no matter what, as many times as they want, no matter the consequence, a coach is going to leave. And why wouldn't he try to bring the players that he rightfully recruited there? Sure thing. Now, if it's some of the veterans that are leaving with, Coach Rogers, he wasn't the head coach that recruited him, but obviously he was on the staff that recruited him there. So, I guess, you can say what you want about that. But Mark Gronowski going to Iowa, leaving South Dakota State. I thought for sure, no matter what, at the end of this season, he was going to be going to the NFL. I never foresaw him leaving South Dakota State to go to another FBS program. But, he's allowed to do whatever the hell he wants. So, exciting news for Mark Gronowski. Hopefully he kills it. I hope he dominates at the FBS level. I hope he does great work at Iowa. I feel like he is like a quintessential Iowa quarterback. Can throw the ball well enough, can run the play action, can run a power offense. Now, I don't know what kind of system they're going to run. Do I think Mark Gronowski could throw it 30, 40 times a game? I think he could. Was he necessarily asked to do that in college, at least at South Dakota State? Not necessarily, but, we'll see how it turns out at Iowa. Exciting news for him. You guys let me know in the comments what you guys think about that. But I will move on. I just wanted to talk about something real quick, and it just goes along the lines of the transfer portal and NIL and the era we're in right now. But it's something that I saw online like a week ago. It said the freshman of the year in the AAC, CUSA, MAC, Mountain West, Sun Belt, and Pac-12 are all in the portal. G5 to P4 transfer are up 40% with 260 plus on the move for 2025. All conference teams are essentially shopping lists now. Max Olson, an ESPN staff writer, and he wrote an article, 9 takeaways from college football's December portal window. And I'm not gonna read the article or anything or get into any of the pieces of the article. I just like the title. It just speaks to that, although FCS coaches are dealing with the transfer portal and the ramifications of the transfer portal, you hear coaches in the FBS level talk about it all the time. There's tampering going on. These coaches are getting a hold of our players somehow, some way. They're convincing them that they can pay them this money, convincing them to leave and go to their school, and it's just devastating because roster retention, there's a host of things that are important to a college coach. Recruiting, I would say, is top 3 on that list. If you can't recruit quality talent to come play for your school, you're grass. So recruiting is up there. Obviously, your product on the field. How is your player development? How is your strength and conditioning? Those are a few rings on that ladder that you need to focus on as well. But then with that, now in college football is roster retention. How well are you able to turn over your roster from, say, 2024 to 2025? How many players that were not, out of eligibility or going to the NFL draft returning to play for you in the next year? I think it's a big issue. I think North Dakota State has been particularly successful with that. They just retained Bryce Lance, who, I thought would be getting a lot of offers in the transfer portal. It seems like their NIL collective is doing a good job of being able to put enough money in front of these players where, you got the wins. Because I think and that's the thing is, and the reason I'm thinking of it this way is because I saw North Dakota State fans and South Dakota State fans arguing online, and it's just so easy to say from either side of the fence for either of them because it's, last year South Dakota State didn't really get hit by the portal, but they were back-to-back national champions. So, I don't really think they lost much at all in the portal, if anything, last year. Everybody stayed. They were trying to go 3 in a row. They unfortunately did not, but they kept everybody. And then you contrast that to this year. South Dakota State loses. Immediately the portal ravages their team. Also, their head coach left, so, that added another wrinkle into that. But then you contrast that with North Dakota State. They won the national championship. And now it seems like outside of the players that are leaving for NFL or out of eligibility, it seems like they're doing a pretty decent job of retaining some of their better talent. And last year, I remember Eli Green left. They had another receiver leave. I think they didn't lose a ton. Neither, I think, lost a ton, but they lost a decent amount of talent. And, it just is what it is. You got to be able to retain your roster. Whoever was on your roster last year, you hope that they are able to return this year or the next season. And that's a big thing in college football. So, not just at the FCS level, at the FBS level, it shows you just right there. The freshman of the year in the AAC, CUSA, MAC, Mountain West, Sun Belt, and Pac-12 are all in the portal freshman of the year. It's because you have a good year. Even the Pac-12, Mountain West, I don't know. You have a good year, and you're looking for more money. You're looking for a better situation. It's a sad reality. And I think some of these things need to become merit-based. I think as a freshman in college, you make a minimum of $40,000, no matter what. And that's if you're not playing. If you are playing, if you're not playing as a freshman, this is what you're making outside of whatever you're getting. If you're getting NIL outside of whatever the school and revenue share is paying you, that's what it is. But outside of that, I think freshmen should make $40,000. Say you have a freshman All-American season. You have a freshman you're all-conference freshman, you're freshman of the year. I think that qualifies you for a certain tier of pay at said whatever school you're in this revenue share model. I think it should be tiered and it should be merit-based. So once you've actually done something, once you've actually proven, you can do something. And then I think that also needs to be the same way for the transfer rule, As a freshman at said institution, you must stay here for 2 years and, you must do this, and this in the classroom or whatever it looks like to be able to transfer. I don't know. It just seems like there needs to be more rules and it needs to be more structured. It just is so wild out here, man. It's so wild out here. There's so many things going on in college football right now. There's so many things going on in college athletics. And I think the transfer portal and NIL continue to be, the center of those discussions. So you guys let me know what you guys think about, the transfer portal and all these players jumping in the portal, regardless of division, FCS. I'm sure it's a D2, NAI, all the divisions, all the levels of football are dealing with. You guys let me know in the comments, and I will move on. Okay, the last thing I want to talk about, I already briefly talked about it, but North Dakota State wide receiver Bryce Lance announces his return for the 2025 season. Lance led the Bison with 75 receptions, 1,071 yards, and 17 receiving touchdowns. I believe his regular season, or I believe his receiving touchdowns total was a record at North Dakota State at their school. So congrats to him. Congrats to North Dakota State being able to retain him. We were just talking about roster retention. We were just talking about the transfer portal. We were just talking about all the effects it has. I don't know what I expect from North Dakota State or South Dakota State next year. To be fair, I do expect a down year from each of those schools next year. To be honest, from the looks of it right now, from where everything is looking right now, I expect a relatively down year for Montana State, Montana, South Dakota State, and North Dakota State. I think South Dakota may be pretty good. I know they're returning the quarterback, but you look at North Dakota State losing Cam Miller. They have Shamar Brown. North Dakota State is probably the best out of the four Montana and North Dakota and South Dakota schools out of South Dakota State, North Dakota State, Montana, and Montana State. I think North Dakota State will be the best out of those four, but do I expect a ton out of either of those four institutions? Not necessarily. Now, I know they have championship pedigree at both the Dakota schools. Montana and Montana State know how to reload, and they have winning coaches in their institutions as well. So, I could be completely wrong, but, I think it's going to be a rough year in terms of some of the talent that all those schools are losing. You look at Mark Gronowski, Cam Miller, Tommy Millott. Montana already didn't have an extremely great year. Obviously, they were a playoff team. They had a second-round exit. That is what it is. Or was it second-round exit, quarterfinals? Who'd they lose to? I can't even. Man, my brain is fried at this point. They lost to South Dakota State, but they won the first round. And then that was what it was. Either way, do I expect a lot out of either of the schools? Not necessarily, but they could shock me. Hopefully they reload. But congrats to North Dakota State being able to retain Bryce Lance. I'm a big fan of his after the season that he just had. Obviously, I recognized him last year and, saw that he could do a few things. But this year, he came on very strong later in the season. He had a very strong playoffs. I was very impressed with, the way he played when the competition is almost like his level of play elevated every time the competition got thicker. Against probably the best defense, in my opinion, that they played against in South Dakota State. He had 3 touchdowns in that game and was completely unstoppable in that game and put the team on his back to be able to carry them to a national champion. Obviously, Cam Miller is included in that, of course. But Bryce Lance had an amazing game. Then you look at the national championship game, had 100 yards, some big catches on third downs. Just played out of his mind. And he really impressed me. So I'm excited to see what he's able to do. That's a really big piece. I would hope that in keeping him, they have an answer at the quarterback position. I know this is an institution that likes to build from within and have a quarterback who grows with the institution. So, Bryce Lance is sort of a proven receiver at this point. He's proven it on the highest level, on the biggest stage. And, I think he would want somebody very competent back there throwing him the ball. So hopefully North Dakota State's able to do that for him. But you guys let me know in the comments what you guys think about all that, and I will move on. I want to give my final thoughts. First off, I've been thinking about doing something called Transfer Portal Watch, or just, taking a look at some of the things that are going on in the transfer portal around college football. That could be at the FCS level. It could be at all levels of football. You guys can let me know what you think about that. Just with everything, with the ever-changing of college football and with the ever-changing of, players leaving and coming to schools, kind of wanted to do a transfer portal watch. For example, Michael Wortham from Eastern Washington just transferred to Montana. I think that's a big get for Montana. I think he's a really good athlete, played all over the field for Eastern Washington. I don't think they ever really dialed down a position for him. He returned, he threw the ball sometimes, he played at running back, he played a receiver. I think they kind of played him all over the place. Hopefully Montana is able to really find a position for him, but from in conference to another in conference, I think it's interesting. I think I also just saw Lanyata Alexander, right before I got on this video, is going from Idaho to Montana State. So another in-conference transfer. Just, you see a lot of that these days. These kids, it's tough at Montana State because if you're a receiver that feels like you bring an explosive component to the offense and you believe that you're a game changer in the offense, going to Montana State is not the place to show that. They are going to run, they are committed to running the ball. They are committed to building from the front, the offensive line and the defensive line. That is who they are. So as a receiver, it's kind of hard. What Lance McCutcheon did in 2021 was kind of an anomaly because I think previous to him, it was really 600, 700 was their top receiver where they were usually around. Correct me if I'm wrong. If anybody else in the comments can correct me, but, I think Lanyata Alexander was looking at that situation, appreciates Montana State for what it's done, but he's, I have bigger goals and dreams and aspirations, so, I need to go somewhere where I may be more of a feature in an offense. So he's now at Idaho with their new head coach, and then also, you got the man, I can't even remember the first transfer I mentioned, but transfer portal. Do you guys think I should institute some type of transfer portal watch into my videos, where we're looking at where players are going? You guys let me know. We could institute an NIL watch, talking about what the money's doing out here. Show me the money, how much these guys are getting, what some of these contracts look like with the NIL. I can try to find and research as much as I can about these NIL contracts, and we can try to look at them and see, what these players are getting, what the language is, and what the stipulations are. You guys let me know. I'm trying to grow this channel, obviously trying to grow this content, obviously trying to provide more exciting things for you guys to tune into when you watch my videos. So you guys let me know. I also got a video dropping very soon talking about the Sac State situation. So I'm excited about that. But you guys let me know what you guys think about all of that in the comments. I appreciate you guys tapping into the video. Leave me a subscribe. Make sure you guys subscribe. Make sure you guys leave me a like. Make sure you guys comment down below on this video. And I will catch you guys next time. See you later.